to Kenworth Connects. Whether you're a dealer or a driver, an owner or an enthusiast, this show is all about connecting you with industry experts to talk about all things Kenworth. I'm Genevieve, and this is Ryan. He's at our studio in Kirkland, Washington.
Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our very first episode of Kenworth Connects. On this episode, we're going to cover fuel economy. We're going to go over some of the tips and tricks that you can do whether you own an existing truck or you're spec'ing a brand new truck at the dealership to maximize your fuel economy. And then at the end of the show, we're going to bring in our special guest, Jost, to talk about fifth wheels.
That's right. So chances are you're with us today because you're interested in improving your fuel spend. In fact, an Instagram user, Truckland Inc. asked, what is Kenworth doing to improve fuel economy? Well, it's an excellent question, and it's really the basis for this entire program. Chances are, if you're viewing, you think you have to sacrifice performance in order to get better fuel economy. Well, I've got some good news. Ryan and I are going to discuss some ways that you can positively impact fuel economy without negatively impacting performance. Now, fuel economy is pretty easy in principle, but it's kind of complex in practice. And so one of the ways that Ryan and I like to talk about fuel economy is to really talk about how fuel energy is used.
Okay, so you've seen the graph on the screen, and what this shows is all the different areas that fuel energy is used. One thing that always isn't completely understood is that by the time the fuel energy gets to the rear wheels to actually pull the truck and trailer down the road, a lot of that energy is already gone. And you can see from the graph, a big portion of that is from the engine itself. So it is a machine, it's not 100% efficient, so the trick is really optimizing the engine RPM and keeping that engine in its sweet spot. It's spinning accessories, generating heat, so keeping that engine RPM as low as possible, that's going to be your biggest bang for the buck.
Now, Ryan mentioned a really important point. That is, you want to keep your engine RPM as low as possible. That is critical to fuel economy. In fact, a good rule of thumb is that for every engine reduction of 100 RPM, you're going to see a 1% improvement in fuel economy. And if you pencil that out and like a little change in your pocket, that's about $500 per truck. And if you're running multiple trucks, that's more than a little pocket change.
Okay, so hopefully she got your attention with that. And one combination that we've seen a lot of success with is the PACCAR MX engine with a PACCAR 12-speed transmission coupled with a 2.64 rear axle ratio. Now I know you're probably cringing thinking a 264 rear axle ratio, but the magic is really in the transmission that makes that combination work. So we throw around the term best overall gear ratio coverage quite a bit, but what that actually means is with the 12-speed, you can cruise at extremely low RPM in 12th gear with a 264 rear axle ratio that's typically around 1100 RPM. So it's very fuel efficient. Now, if you start climbing a slight grade, that transmission will almost seamlessly transition into 11 and then shift back into 12 once you get back onto the flat grade. Now, in order to keep the performance of the truck, the other end of the transmission, first, second, all the starting gears are very steep so that you still get that startability and you still get that performance that you would expect. The truck doesn't feel doggy, it doesn't feel like it can't get out of its own way. So that's why we've seen so much success with that combination.
All right, I'm really glad that you brought up the PACCAR powertrain because our customers are seeing a lot of improvement, both from an efficiency and a fuel economy standpoint. And I want to ask now, what about those who are running older equipment who aren't benefiting from the newer technology? What kind of recommendations would you give to them?
So I'm glad you brought that up. You're right that not everybody has the newest equipment in the field. So what we have found is the driver still makes the biggest impact on fuel economy. Of course, that goes especially for manual transmissions. So one thing that we recommend is if you have a driver, especially with a lot of experience and experienced driving older engines, is try shifting 100 or 200 RPMs earlier. It may feel like the engine's going to bog down, but engine technology has come so far over the years. Torque curves are much lower. Peak torque, for instance, on the MX is at 900 RPM. So even though it may feel like you're going to bog the engine by shifting 100 to 200 RPMs earlier, that's really what they're designed to do, and that's where they're going to run more fuel efficient. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot you can do to reduce cruise engine RPM without regearing the truck. and I don't expect that to be an extremely popular option.
Understood. So one of a LinkedIn user, Jeff from Utah, he asked us, what is Kenworth doing to ensure that we're staying at the forefront of fuel economy? What are we doing with our products and technology? Well, a lot, Jeff. And we have been delivering value to our customers ever since we delivered the T600. I mean, fuel economy has definitely been a top of mind for Kenworth, and we continue to build upon that, even investing our own selves in the market. One of the things I can share with you is that 2021 greenhouse gas phase 2 regulations will require that all engine manufacturers get more efficiency out of their engine. And because PACCAR builds the MX, we are going to be delivering that efficiency to our customers. So there's some real improvements going to be coming your way soon. Thanks for the question. All right, I'm going to move over to aerodynamics. That was another part of the pie. And if you think about fuel energy used, you can think about 20% being related to aerodynamics, because that chassis is simply pushing air as it's going down the road. So an important concept is ensuring that you have an aerodynamic profile and ensure that you're able to reduce as much drag as possible. So of course, I'm not going to convince anyone here to trade out their dual stacks and their polished tanks for full fairings. I understand that. But the elephant in the room is the fact that the sleeker the model, the more you're going to get an aerodynamic profile and a fuel economy benefit. In fact, if you think about our T680, which is the most aerodynamic vehicle on the road, you're getting about 20% more fuel economy than our other models. That's a pretty big difference. But don't worry, if you're not driving the T680, there's still a lot that you can do. One tip I will leave you with is to make sure that the top of your truck matches the top of your trailer. That's a really important concept for aerodynamics. So make sure that if you have a flat top sleeper, you're adding that deflector or you're adding that roof fairing to your full height trailer so that you're maximizing on the aerodynamic profile and really getting the biggest bang for your buck on fuel economy.
Okay, so another slice of the pie is tire rolling resistance. So just the energy wasted by moving tires across the pavement. We absolutely recommend talking to tire suppliers and understanding what the best tire for your application will be and reducing that rolling resistance with a more fuel efficient tire. But that being said, the most fuel efficient tire in the world isn't going to do a lot of good unless it's properly inflated. So one fact is that just one tire underinflated by 10 psi, that can cause a 1% fuel economy loss. So absolutely recommend keeping your tires properly inflated. Not only is this going to improve fuel economy, it's going to extend the life of your tires, and it's completely free. I will throw in a shameless plug that we have a tire pressure monitoring system, which is available on the T680, the T880, and the W990.
All right, we have so much to talk about with regards to fuel economy, but we do want to keep this short. So I'll leave you with one last tip, and that's to make sure that you're optimizing your trailer gap. Another good fact for you is to keep your trailer gap between 38 and 42 inches. That means we're measuring from the back of the sleeper or the back of the cab, not including your side extender, to the back of the trailer. Of course, 38 to 42 is going to give you enough clearance, but it's also going to minimize all that turbulent airflow, because what we want to do is we want to take that airflow past the chassis out to the trailer and beyond where it belongs. And of course, spec'ing a fifth wheel is going to have a huge impact on how you're maximizing that trailer gap.
So good point.
Or minimizing as the case may be.
So it's a good point, and this is where a sliding fifth wheel comes in. Having a sliding fifth wheel, we absolutely recommend spec'ing the truck so it's optimized from the factory. But a sliding fifth wheel allows you to fine tune that gap, and especially if you're running multiple different trailers that may have different kingpin settings, you can move that sliding fifth wheel to be optimized for every single trailer.
All right, so I think it's time to bring on our industry expert so we can connect. What do you think, Brian?
I think it's time. So at Kenworth, we pride ourselves on building the world's best truck, and we build a premium truck on the market. In order to do that, we have to rely on our suppliers to provide us with the best in the industry. And that's exactly why we have chosen Jost to be our standard fifth wheel supplier. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome to the show Jacob DeGrice, who is our OEM account manager at Jost International.
Hey Genevieve, hey Ryan, thanks so much for having us on the web series today.
Thanks for coming, Jake. So we've talked about fuel efficiency, and if you're looking for every way to maximize fuel efficiency, you might look at saving some weight. And of course, the side effect of this is that you're going to maximize your payload capacity as well. So one area to look at may very well be saving some weight on your fifth wheel.
Yeah, so the typical cast fifth wheel for over-the-road application weighs around 250 pounds. Jost does offer a fabricated top plate that will save you 30 pounds.
All right, so is that more expensive than a traditional fifth wheel?
So your fabricated top plate is actually a lower cost and lower weight, so it starts to pay off for the customer right away.
All right, Jake, I'm gonna level with you. When I first got into the industry, I didn't understand why there were so many fifth wheels in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences in your products?
Yeah, so Jost offers various configurations of the cast fifth wheel to cover all of your customers' needs. That includes air release option, steel ring option, low lube liner option, as well as a bracket that's fitted for end dump applications.
Okay, so we talked about weight and we talked about fuel efficiency. What other things should our viewers consider when spec'ing a fifth wheel?
You know, what they should think about is, does a slider make more sense? Does a stationary make more sense? Because that will save you on weight and cost, as well as let's not forget about the trailer. Jost does offer an aluminum landing gear set that will save you 50 pounds.
Okay, what about serviceability?
Yeah, so Jost really prides ourselves in serviceability, ease of use, and safety. One kit will cover about 90% of the Jost fifth wheels going down the road, so it's very easy for that customer to maintenance their fifth wheel.
Okay, do you want to show us a rebuild now?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring you over to a close-up of our Jost fifth wheel. Now this is a cutaway of that Jost fifth wheel. So what I'll do is show you how easy it is to maintenance that fifth wheel on the truck. For a Jost, it takes you 45 minutes to rebuild a fifth wheel without having to take it off, compared to taking off the fifth wheel of the competitor and flipping it over and taking 4 hours to repair. Okay, so when it is time to rebuild that fifth wheel, it's only 2 tools, 5/16 Allen and a flathead. The first step would be to take off the primary lock and this key ring right here. Once you pop that off, then you can go ahead and open up the fifth wheel. You take that 5/16 Allen, you take out the 4 bolts, and again, this can be done on the truck. Do not have to take it off. Once you take these 4 bolts out, you would take your flathead, you would pop it under the lip right here. There's a ledge right in the throat that ring sits on. You'll pull up and you'll pull that ring out. Once you have that ring out, you would take your bolt that you just took out, thread it into the pin. You pop the pin out, you slide that jaw out, and then that's fully disassembled right there. So you can see how simple and easy it is to take out the jaws and repair the Jost fifth wheel. So you'll take that new kit, you'll slide in the new jaw, you'll take your new key ring, slide it on, take your pen, drop it back in, take your new cushion ring, which will come as 2 pieces. You press it together, you line it up with the 4 bolt holes. You take your new bolts, which will come with blue Loctite. So if you are using a torque wrench, you would only need to torque it down to 45 pounds. Once you torque those down, tighten them nice and snug, the last step would be to take that spring you took off your primary lock, hook it back on, take a lock tester, set it back to the tightness you would want it, and then you're back to factory spec, and your customer can keep rebuilding a Jost until you can't see the grease screws or the Jost engraved into the plate.
All right, that's amazing how fast that you can rebuild a fifth wheel and get that truck back out on the road.
So Jake, if people want to reach out to you after viewing this episode, how can they get in contact?
Yeah, just go to the Jost International website and click Contact Your Regional Manager, and it'll direct you to the correct rep to handle all of your questions and needs. Thanks again so much for having us on the web series today.
All right, Jake, so unfortunately that is all the time we have today, but I do want to thank you for coming on to our episode. Really appreciate the information, and of course I want to thank our viewers for tuning in.
Yes, you know where to find us. And until then, let's stay connected.